Thank you for joining us today, and happy Friday. My name is Corbin Delaney. I'm the marketing manager here at Life Data, and I am here with the very stunning Susie Holt. You may recognize her voice from customer service. If you've ever called in and talked with us, you may have talked with Susie. She's been with the company for
long time.
Long time. We'll leave it at that. Long time. And of course, so you may have talked with her, may have seen her at the Hoof Care Summit if you are a farrier and happen to have been there. So we're happy to have her with us today. Of course, she answers a lot of questions via email and also through the phone. And so she's very knowledgeable, and we're happy to have her with us today as we today talk about some of these nervous horses. I actually just got back from the Western States Horse Expo in California. And that was kind of an actual big topic. A lot of people were talking about this nervousness and the nervous horses. And a lot of that had to stream to where we are right now in the year. We're leading up to the 4th of July very, very soon, which we're all here excited about at Life Data. And as much fun as those fireworks can be, as much as colorful and beautiful and as much of a fun time it can be, a lot of times that can be a little horrifying for our horses.
Right.
A lot of these horses don't like it. And so that is a kind of a big conversation that I had at this expo was, what can I do? My horse is anxious, especially around some of these fireworks and so on. What are some of the options? And so that's kind of one of the things that we wanted to talk about today.
Also, people are busy this summer going on trail rides or going out and doing different things, moving their horses a lot. So that goes along with it too, a lot of trailering issues and things like that.
Absolutely, and especially even with competition and things like that. There's just a lot going on with the summer, and a nervous horse can definitely put a damper on a lot of those plans.
Right. A nervous horse can do a few things. They can hurt themselves. They can hurt the horse owner. They can hurt someone just standing by, trying to help the horse owner. There's a lot of different things that a nervous horse, damage a nervous horse can cause.
Absolutely. And before we really dive into this, feel free to please leave a comment. Susie here usually actually in the past would field those comments on Facebook for us during these live presentations. So as she's here with us, we actually don't have anyone watching those comments live. So if we don't answer your question, just be patient with us and we'll make sure to answer that after the presentation is over. Of course, like this video and share it among your friends. And leave a comment, let us know where you're watching from and if you currently have a nervous horse that you're dealing with.
Right.
Well, when we look at this nervous horse, one of the first things we have to understand is why this horse is nervous and really where this initially is coming from. And some of these, we're not ready for that one yet, Zach. Sorry about that. And so when we first kind of look at this horse, for this horse, this equine behavior, it's coming from, of course, just a long evolution of being prey animals. These horses were hunted by wolves and different things like that. And so they developed this fight or flight kind of instinct, right? And so when they feel like they're in danger, when they feel like they're in a situation that their life may be at risk, their first instinct is to flight.
Right.
That's where a lot of that nervous behavior is going to be initially coming from, is that they are nervous and that they feel like their life is at risk. Now, I know, you, for example, you just mentioned some of the dangers. You want to hit that again to kind of talk about some of these dangers that happens with the nervous horse?
Right. Well, especially like you mentioned, the 4th of July. We have customers call that say their horses are just anxious around those times when there's fireworks and things like that. We also have a customer whose horse is a barrel racer. And, you wouldn't think a barrel racer wants to decrease any of their time, but the horse was okay as long as it's in the arena, but when it's in the outskirt areas around other horses, when it acts up. Have a trail rider who called a few weeks ago and said that his horse is fine at home, never acts up at home, but as soon as he gets out to the trail ride around other horses, his horse acts crazy. So it's just some things like that, get them out of their element that causes different things. So, and maybe just a horse that's just not ready to be ridden or something that may kind of act up when you're trying to ride them. So there's just all kinds of different things that can cause the issues, and we've heard a lot of the stories.
Absolutely. And of course, as Susie mentioned here a little bit earlier, that nervous horse is going to put a lot of people at risk. Not only the horse itself, but the individual riding and so on.
Right.
So let's look at some of those causes. What exactly can we look at that might be causing that situation? Of course, separation anxiety is going to be a pretty big one. As I mentioned, these horses were prey species. And a part of that, that they dealt with that was them being herd animals, right? They would gather as a group, they would watch each other's backs. And so when they are separated, when they are alone, they're going to develop some of that nervous behavior because they no longer feel protected. They're not used to being alone. As we mentioned earlier, a lot of you are going to be out performing and competing. And that can actually cause a lot of anxiety, especially if they're not used to that energy that a lot of that performance and crowds bring, right? That can be a lot. That can be a lot to them. It can be pretty overwhelming. Stress caused from loud noises, again, those unfamiliar circumstances, or anything that's really kind of fear-inducing is going to add that stress, which is going to bring on that anxiety and so on. Pain, that's a really big contributor, especially if you've got some uncomfortable tack, maybe the saddle isn't fitting properly, ulcers and developing in the stomach, an injury or a hoof issue. A lot of those circumstances are also going to add pain, which again brings on that stress and brings on that nervous behavior. One that a lot of people don't really consider and think about is going to be nutrition. Excess calories, sugar-rich diets, nutritional imbalances, all of that is going to contribute to that nervous behavior, whether that be extra energy, the horse doesn't know what to do with that energy and has to get rid of it. That's going to be part of a problem there as well.
Yeah. Some of these feeds, some people feed just corn, and corn converts to sugar. That can give a horse more energy. Some of these products contain molasses. So if you are feeding a food that has corn, molasses, different things like that, you want to check that out because that could be causing some of the horse's extra energy.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, it can be a combination of all of those. It can be that horse has got an imbalance when it comes to nutrition, or maybe it did receive some extra calories, it needs to expend those, and then it gets into that nervous situation with the fireworks or with the eventing and so on, and then that ends up kind of building within the system, and that ends up developing that nervous horse. So it may not just be one of those things, it can be a combination of one or all of them.
Right.
Now, Susie, I know you talk to a lot of these horse owners on the phone, just kind of give them ideas and things that they can try to help reduce some of that. So you want to talk about some of these methods that we have when it comes to calming?
Right. There's a few different things they've tried. Behavioral training. There's different things that they try to do, maybe with different sources that are trying to help show the horse how to act better. Getting used to their new environment. If you have moved the horse, you want to give the horse time to get used to where it is, being around other horses and different things. Reduce separation. Some horses just need a buddy.
Absolutely.
Some horses just don't like being alone. And then supplements, of course. And then you also have sedation. And, there is good luck with sedation, but, there's a lot of customers who do not want to sedate their horse. You can't blame them.
Absolutely. And that's something that we frequently talk about when we're at shows is, I don't want to sedate my horse. There's actually, several things that can happen when we're sedating a horses. And a lot of horse owners just really don't want to go that route. And so we actually have a slide on that, on some of the dangers. We're looking at allergic reactions. I've heard of some horses actually struggling to breathe after being sedated, or having even skin irritation and so on from an injection point. Some of them collapse, where that sedation kind of hit too hard, right? And they just don't function right and tend to actually collapse, and which can then leads into the injury. A lot of times we can get that reverse effect where instead of calming, instead of sedating them, they actually ends up making them more excitable, gives them kind of more energy, and they kind of almost get into this panic of energy, which again can also lead to another injury. And of course you have the accidental injury where it's not only an injury towards the horse, but even towards the horse owner or the farrier or whoever it is that is working on the horse. I had someone once talk to me about, where they thought they had their horse sedated, and then when the farrier began working, the sedation kicked out,
right.
And the horse panicked and so on. So, you have these situations where it's not optimal to use the sedation.
Right.
But fortunately, there are some alternatives to the sedation, and if you are needing something more, right? So you don't want to do the sedation. You've tried some of these other training things. You can look into nutrition. Nutrition is going to be a big aspect of that. And so we actually have a product, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about today, is our Compose 2X.
Right.
I'll let you talk about that a little bit.
Well, we have two sizes. We have a 17-ounce bag and the 70-ounce bag. And depending on what your horse is doing or what exactly is wrong with it, we can help you decide how to feed it. There's multiple ways to feed it, and just depends on your horse and how they react to it.
Absolutely.
You want to talk about the ingredients first?
Yeah, well, we can get into that. I've got a little, just to show it right here. It is a pelleted product. I think we have a close-up right here. You can see it is a pelleted product right here, very much like Farrier's formula is.
Alfalfa base.
And the great thing about that is, of course, with it pelleted for palatability.
Right.
A lot of horses tend to like that chew. I've heard a lot of people giving it as a snack and so on. So it ends up being almost like a treat a lot of times too. I know I personally have never heard anyone saying that the horse didn't like Compose.
Right.
So it is very palatable.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, that's right. Now, as far as what makes the Compose great is, of course, the ingredients in it. It doesn't use anything unsafe. It's not using any type of chemicals or anything like that. They're all natural. And so, when we look at those ingredients, the first one is going to be tryptophan. I know a lot of you probably have heard of tryptophan and even used it. But tryptophan is an essential amino acid. And the unique thing about tryptophan is it's actually often pretty low within those equine diets. A lot of those equine diets aren't going to provide the tryptophan. And so a lot of horses are going to be deficient in it. And if they are deficient in tryptophan, you can expect a little bit more of that nervous behavior. And it's necessary for the serotonin production. I said that wrong. Serotonin production. And that plays a role with learning, mood, behavior. Basically, serotonin is a chemical that carries the signals between the nerve cells. So it's extremely important, especially when we're talking about that behavior aspect of the horse.
Right. And another thing humans get our tryptophan from is when you eat your Thanksgiving meal and your turkey.
Absolutely.
We get it from turkey.
Absolutely.
That's why everybody's sleeping and want to sit up and have that afternoon nap after Thanksgiving. So that's a natural source of tryptophan.
Absolutely. And that doesn't mean we don't put turkey in this. That's not where we're getting our tryptophan. I had a woman ask me about that. I go, well, it's got turkey in it. No, there's no turkey in it. But that tryptophan will help, especially if that horse is deficient in the tryptophan.
Right.
The next ingredient that's really important is going to be the magnesium. Magnesium is another common deficiency within the horse, and that can occur basically from an excess in other inversely correlated nutrients. So zinc is a big one, where that zinc is going to interfere with that magnesium absorption. And so a lot of these horses are also going to be commonly deficient in that. It's going to produce that calming effect that we want. It can provide that muscle relaxation, and it's important for the nerve transmission and muscle function as well. And so that's just another really good ingredient that a lot of these nervous horses are going to be deficient in.
Right.
And so again, that's going to provide both of those ingredients. And the last one is going to be thymine. Those are basically the three big ones. Thymine is, of course, your B1 vitamin. It's important in energy metabolism. It's going to help control that hyperactivity. Plays a direct role in that nerve impulse transmission. And it's produced by the hindgut microbes. Sorry, I had to take a sip of drink real quick. And so the really kind of interesting thing when it comes to thymine is that this is really going to be impactful to those horses who are under stress, because that excess stress is going to impair that digestive function, which like I said, as we mentioned before, it produces that thymine. And so if we have that stressed horse, that's also again going to interfere with that thymine. Right. And so between those three ingredients, we're basically providing that horse nutritionally what it's missing. It's one of those situations that we are taking that from a nutritional standpoint. We're looking at this calming from that aspect of the diet.
Right. And it's just enough to take the edge off the horse. It's not going to make the horse lay down and go to sleep, not going to slow the horse down, just enough to whatever is causing that excitability and that little anxious behavior. It's just enough to take that edge off. So don't be afraid that it's going to just make the horse lay down and go to sleep for a few hours. It's going to be able to keep going.
Yeah, you're not going to provide this product and then turn around the corner and have your horse laid out.
Right, right.
Which is something a lot of people like. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Of course, we've got a few testimonials that we'll throw up. But before we talk about that, I think Susie is going to talk about the feeding instructions.
Right. Like I said, there's multiple ways to feed. First is on an as-needed basis, or what I call a quick fix. You feed the product on an empty stomach at least 2 hours before feeding their normal feed. So early in the morning, if you feed early in the morning, and feed on an empty stomach. You want to give 2 scoops. Now, these scoops look different than the Ferris formula. The Ferris formula, you feed a cup for original and half a cup for double strength. This is the scoop for the composed. It's just a quarter cup.
Yep, and it actually comes in the bag.
Yes, one of these scoops does come in each bag. And so you feed 2 of these on an empty stomach, and it's going to start working through the system, and within about 2 or 3 hours, it'll be at its peak. And it's going to stay in the system. We're going to talk about that more in a little bit. But you do want to feed that on an empty stomach. The other way to feed it is top dress your feed every day. There's 2 ways you can do. If you only feed once a day, you can feed 2 scoops once a day. If you feed twice a day, it's okay to feed 1 scoop in the morning and 1 scoop in the evening. Just depends on how you feed your horses. I have had customers tell me 1 scoop was enough for their horse. So it just depends on your horse, how it reacts to it. Of course, it goes by weight. The 2 scoops is for a 1,000-pound horse. So you'll need to adjust that if you have a larger horse or smaller horse. But the main thing is I suggest doing it, especially the quick fix, if you're going to do the as needed, to try it on a day when you're not going somewhere. Don't try it on the first day you're going to a big event or something. You want to see how it's going to work. Use it on a day while you're at home. Go ahead and give it on an empty stomach and wait a few hours and see if it's not acting a little bit less edgy. I said he, like it's always the guys, but it's not. But do try it on a day where it's not really important, where you'll know how your horse is going to react to it. But if you are going somewhere like a trail ride or something like that, you may want to start feeding a week ahead of time. If the horse only acts up while at the trail ride instead of every day while it's at home, it's okay. So just maybe start giving them maybe a week ahead of time and give 2 scoops every day. And again, if you feed twice a day, it's okay to give 1 scoop morning, 1 scoop AM, and then keep feeding it while you're at the trail ride. Keep it in the system. And then once you get home, you can stop feeding it, and the horse should go back to its normal behavior.
Absolutely, absolutely. So for example, if you are looking at having that calming effect as we get into the 4th of July, my recommendation, actually talked with this with Dr. Scott Gravely as well, to kind of get his insight. And what we want to do for the best results is you can actually start feeding it here in a couple days, around June 30th, June 31st, start feeding the product, feed it every single day leading up to the 4th. Right. He said that he really likes to give it about 7 days, especially if, you can do it as Susie mentioned, as needed, but feeding it on the empty stomach can sometimes be difficult. Right. We know a lot of horse owners love to feed their horses. So feeding it on the empty stomach can be a little bit troublesome. And so if within that 7-day time frame, you're allowing it to get in the system. End of the day, this is nutrition. And so it does take time to build up within that horse to really get that desired effect. Right. And if you do give it just that one time and you don't see the results, do it again the next day. Right. Because like I said, it's got to build up within that system. That one-time feed can be difficult and show some different results.
Right. Just depends on the horse. And
absolutely.
Like the barrel racer I mentioned, she told me she would give hers in the morning before she fed. She knew it was going to be X amount of hours before the event. So she made sure she gave it in plenty of time to where it would be at its peak while she was at the event. And then it slowly starts to taper off. It doesn't just boom, starts working and boom, stops. It does slowly start to work and slowly taper off. So it's not such a absolutely big reaction for the horse.
Absolutely. So I would definitely, if you decide this is something that you want to try, give it more than just one try. Right. Give it about a week of feeding it every day just to really see how that reacts. And then it's up to you from there. If you decide you want to continue to do that every single day or just feed it as needed, and again, about 7 days before that desired trail ride or so on, you can give that in. Right. And we talked about it earlier. You even talked to a customer who likes to do with the monthly basis. They have
Oh
a
yes,
mare,
yeah.
and
Her mare, she has a mare, and she said around certain times of the month, the mare is unbearable. She said you don't want to be around her. She nips at them. She just acts up, and just all kinds of different things. And she said she figured out her cycle, and she figured out when she needed to start giving it about a week before the cycle, and she kept giving it for the duration of the time. And the horse was they were able to put up with the horse more. She had a better demeanor about her. So that's something you just had to play with. She had to play
absolutely.
with it, work with it to figure it out for her horse.
Absolutely. And so especially if if you're going to be moving your horse, you're taking the horse to a different competition, or maybe it's first competition or so on, providing that compose about 7 days beforehand can really help kind of settle those nerves.
Right.
And of course, I know with this product, we always get a lot of questions. And so these are some of the frequently asked questions we get regarding compose and of course feeding it. And the first one is, can it be used for horses in competition? I think that's the number one question that I get, especially.
Is it going to test if they do a test?
Yes, is it going to test? And really that's going to depend on what you're competing in. So tryptophan is the one ingredient that we have to pay attention to. There are some events that consider tryptophan to be an advantage. And so if you are participating in an event that considers tryptophan to be an advantage, then you do not want to feed it.
Right. Just check with your organization, and
yes,
each one is different, but most of the time it will not test, but we can't say, it just depends on the people, what they think.
Absolutely. And then always continue to check, because I know those rules change, those regulations tend to change. Tryptophan won't be illegal, and then it will be, and especially that one kind of flip flops so often. Right. So definitely just make sure you check before you feed the product if you're worried about that. One of the other questions, Susie, and I'll let you take this one, but how long will the effects last?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, when you feed the product, it takes a few hours for it to get in the system, and then it takes a few more hours for it to come down. So I would say it'll be at its peak within the 2 to 3 hours, and then it'll slowly start to taper off. So you're looking at least a good 2 to 3 hours during the time you'll see the horse at its calmest. Now, that's if you use it on a quick fix. Now, the other way, if you're using it every day and feeding it AM and PM both, you should see just a good kind of calm demeanor altogether. So it just depends on how the horse reacts to it and how you're feeding it how you're using it for your horse.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, if you're feeding that daily, those effects will continue to last a little bit longer, because it has built up within that system of the horse. How long will the bag last? That's another one we get a lot. And of course, we've got two different sizes here. So I'll let you take this one as well.
Yeah, good question. The 17-ounce bag, the small bag, it has about 5 servings. That's 2 scoops per serving, and that'll last about 5 to 6 days. The larger bag, the 70-ounce bag, has about 23 servings. That's 2 scoops at about 23 servings. And that is a lot, but like I said, some customers have played with it and said their horse got by on just 1 scoop. Can't guarantee that, but you just got to play with it for your horse and see how it works out. But at least 23 to 24 days, depending on how heaping you make the little scoops.
Absolutely, on the big bag.
So not quite a month.
And that's one of the really great things, of course, about this small bag, especially if you're looking at just trying it out and seeing how it works. A little small bag retails for, I think it's $23.99 is what this one retails for. The big bag retails for $73.99. So for basically $23.99, with this bag, you kind of will know how it's going to affect and how it's going to work with your horse, because that'll give you, like I said, what was it, about a week? Well,
no, about 5 days.
About 5
so you may
days.
need a little bit more, but you'll be for sure it's going to taste it.
Yes.
If they're a finicky horse, they don't like the taste of some things. That's a good bag to start with. For
and within that 5 days, you'll know how it's going to work with your horse and so on. So again, just feed that every single day for those 5 days. And so for that $23.99, you basically get to hopefully find an answer to the problem that you have with this nervous horse.
Some of the stores and veterinarians order just the small size because it's handy for customers who are just going to use it on an as-needed basis. So absolutely.
Another big question that I receive often at these shows is, well, will it work for my horse? And when we looked at that nervous behavior and what causes nervous behavior, if nutrition is one of those factors, then yes, it's going to help that horse. If that is not being caused from nutrition, if it's something completely different, as we mentioned, an injury or something along those lines, this may not help. But now, as I mentioned, if it's the injury plus nutrition, or
Are they thiamine
yeah,
deficient in the tryptophan?
tryptophan, thiamine, magnesium. If they're deficient in either of those three, this product will help. So, like I mentioned, it's definitely something worth trying, especially if you've tried multiple factors and nothing seemed to work. Um, can you feed it with other products?
With our products, yes.
Absolutely.
And depending on what you're feeding, if it's, we'll have to look at the ingredients for other products, but as long as they're fed with Life Data products, they are okay to feed with our products.
Absolutely. And that's one of the great things, of course, about Life Data and our company is, when it comes to our products, we make sure that they tend to work together.
Right.
We've got our specialty products for, the insulin resistance and laminitis and so on that Compose can be fed with. Of course, don't want to mix those together, but Compose work with Farrier's formula and the Barn Bag, which is our forage balancer. And so we kind of tend to make sure that our products will work together. Where, of course, other companies, you may want to be a little bit more careful, but again, this is such a, I don't want to call it simple, but there's not a ton of ingredients in this. Again, you're just looking at those three, the tryptophan, the thiamine, the magnesium. And so for the most part, you're usually not going to have difficulty feeding it with anything else, but if you ever want to check and make sure, you're always welcome to email us at cservice@lifedatalabs.com. Just let us know what you're feeding. We can let Dr. Scott Gravely take a look at that, at those ingredients, to make sure that we are not over supplementing. Where can you get Compose? That's a big one that we get a lot, because Compose is not one that a lot of people know about.
Right.
When we posted about this event, one of the questions we kept getting on Facebook was, "Is this a new product? What is this?"
One of the best kept secrets of Life Data. We advertise all the other products a lot, but we don't advertise this a lot because it's just it's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah, it is. It's a difficult product to explain, and like I said, there's so many things that might be leading towards that nervousness.
Yeah.
But basically, anywhere that carries Farrier's formula can get Compose. So if you have a local dealer, a local distributor, or tack and feed store that you like to work with, you can go in and ask them about it, and they can order it for you. You can always order it directly from us, from lifedatalabs.com.
We have dealers online that sell it online as well. If you just Google Compose 2X, you'll find multiple dealers that have it online. And some of our dealers do purchase from distributors. So, of course, our dealers are full-time farriers, tack and feed stores, and veterinarians. Mm-hmm. And some of the dealers do buy from distributors. If the distributor doesn't have it, they know you want it, they'll usually get it and keep it on stock, in stock for the dealers. So.
Absolutely. And for anyone who's watching who is a dealer, if we happen to have a farrier watching right now who's a dealer, you can get this product and carry it on your rig. So it's a great product to try and to carry. It can be a little bit more difficult, to find, but if you have issues finding it, you can also just give us a call and talk to Susie, and she can help you. Well, like I mentioned, we do have some testimonials from other individuals that we'd like to share with you today. This first one right here, Judy, she actually picked up the product for the 4th of July. Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead and show that one right there. I know, Susie, you know a little bit about this one. You talked with her.
Yeah. And she called just right before the 4th of July last year. And she says in her testimonial, this year we got the supplement, Compose 2X. We started giving it on July 1st. And, of course, people were doing fireworks all week. But Mariah and Ebony were much calmer. They were not pacing, and they were breathing normally. What she said happened before, when they were so excited about it, they would just pace back and forth, and kind of breathe heavily from the excitability. And she says Compose 2X was easy to give, and they ate it like a treat. I'm very pleased with the results. And so I think she was able to enjoy her holidays a little bit more without having to be so nervous about the horses. She had both of them being so excited. She mentioned other products she had tried. I can't remember those products now, but she mentioned other products she had tried and didn't see results. So she's very happy with this. So they will not go without it.
Absolutely. Yeah. This next one is from Sandra W. Let's go ahead and put that one up. Oh, Susie, you want to read that one up? You want me to?
You can.
All right. Sandra said he was noticeably calmed down a lot. Now he can relax and is able to stand still while even being groomed. John reacts much better to loud noises. I was very worried about him, and I am so relieved that he has now stopped running around all day. He appears happier and more contented. This is a big improvement and very encouraging for the future. Sandra actually provided a very long testimonial. I mean, it's very in-depth on what she experienced. It's actually on our website, along with even more testimonials. Again, you can read those at lifedatalabs.com. All you have to do is go to the product, and you can just hit testimonials and see testimonials for that specific product. And there's several on there for the Compose. And like I said, then hers went into a lot of depth.
I'm not sure if it's hers or another one, but one of them mentioned that each time the vet came out, the horses, I think they were minis, the minis were upset or always a little anxious when the vet came out. And the vet was working on them, and all of a sudden he stopped and asked the horse owner, "What have you done to these horses?" Because they were calmer that time, and he didn't know she had given them something. And so it was, she said the vet had a lot better experience, and so did the horses that day.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, one of the fun things, since you guys joined us today, we're actually going to give away a 70-ounce bag to one of the viewers. So we actually are hosting a giveaway. I believe the link has been scrolling at the bottom of your screen, but just in case you didn't see it, you can actually enter at lifedata.live/win. So you can just open up your browser, put that in the URL, the lifedata.live/win, and fill out the little form. It's basically going to sign you up for our newsletter, but that will also put you into entry, give you an entry to win this product. Of course, we will ship it for free, and of course the product will be free. So you will not have to pay anything for that. And if anyone messages you asking for a credit card or anything like that, that is a spam. We will notify the winner via email. So be on the lookout. We actually will be closed the week of the 4th.
Yes.
And so we won't be doing any shipping during that time. So it might be at sometime after the 4th before that winner receives that product. But be on the lookout for that. And so we'll actually leave this open too. So this is, if you're watching this later and it's recording, we're going to leave that contest open for into next week. So you've got time to enter. So go to the link and enter.
And that's just open to U.S. customers. I'm
Yes.
sorry, I wish we could ship to other countries, but Compose is not available in Canada. It is available in the U.S., of course, and it is available in the EU.
Yes.
We have a distributor, we have suppliers in the EU, United Kingdom, and it is available in those areas. So it just depends on where you are. We'll get it to you, hopefully through a supplier.
Absolutely. And the big reason why we can't include these international countries in our contest is actually due to international giveaway laws. There's just a lot of rules and regulations and restrictions with that, and it just makes it very difficult to include everyone within that. I did see we did have someone ask a question about ulcers and products for ulcers. We unfortunately don't have anything that would help target with that ulcers. Again, that ulcer within the stomach can lead to that nervous behavior. And so with that ulcer, if it also has that, again, that tryptophan, magnesium deficiency, then that could help that aspect of the calming, but it wouldn't help with the ulcer.
Right.
So,
and you may want to look at, depending on what you're feeding and different things like that. Dr. Scott may have some suggestions.
Absolutely.
So if you have any issues with ulcers, please email us or call us, and we'll get with Dr. Scott and see if he can be of some help with that.
Absolutely.
Now, we will be working next week.
Yes.
We're working all next week. So if you
Yes.
order over the weekend on our website or say at least Monday, Tuesday, of course, we'll be here and all next week. And we won't be shipping this coming Friday. Is it the 30th or 31st?
I don't remember.
28th.
Yeah.
28th. Friday's the 28th. We will be shipping that day, but we'll cut shipping off early that day. So if we have any orders by at least say 10 or 11, they'll go out that day, and that'll be the last we'll be able to ship until we come back.
Absolutely. And so again, as I mentioned, that little small bag is going to last you about 5 days. So if you've got that nervous horse who doesn't like those fireworks and those loud bangs, now's really the perfect time to try it.
Right.
Start giving it about that 30th mark, and just give it every single day leading up to the 4th, and hopefully those your horse can actually sit back and enjoy the fireworks instead of being scared of them.
I have had farriers ask me if they can slip it in their wives' food.
Ooh.
We don't recommend it for humans, just for animal consumption, just for horses.
She said that, not me.
So,
not me.
Yeah, I told the farriers they cannot.
We actually slip it into Susie's coffee every morning. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, happy Friday. Thank you again for joining us. and we're gonna cut out this one, a little bit shorter than some of our other ones. But be on the lookout. We're gonna do a few more of these product discussions in the future, as well as tackling on some of these bigger topics as well. So be on the lookout for our next live event. Again, thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful Friday.